Welcome back to Applied Physics series lecture. Unit 2 Semiconductor Physics, Lecture 1 Types of Semiconductors. According to the conductivity of a material, the materials are divided into three categories: conductors, insulators, and semiconductors. We know very well conductors exhibit maximum conductivity, insulators exhibit zero conductivity, and semiconductors exhibit partial conductivity. As a result, semiconductors are also called as partial conductors. Behind this classification, how to depends upon band theory of solids. Therefore, according to the band theory of solids, the structure of any material consists of two regions called as valency band and conduction band, separated by a certain amount of energy gap known as forbidden energy gap. If we consider the band definition, the number of closely associated energy levels accumulated at one specific region will be called as bands. So if we consider the valency band, this is the band which is occupied with innermost electrons. And if we consider the conduction band, this is occupied with electrons which are present in the outermost orbits. These two regions are separated by a certain amount of energy gap. So you know already it is called as forbidden energy gap. In case of conductors, the conduction band and valence band are overlap with each other and there is no energy gap. Here the value of energy gap is exactly zero. Why? Because here in case of conductors, conductors are electropositive elements. Therefore, we are having more number of free electrons. That's why the regions are completely filled. As a result, the two regions are overlapped. There is no scope for energy gap. So as a result, if you apply any external source, then electrons present in the valence band are very easily excited to the conduction band because of no energy gap. As a result, more number of mobilities are noticed. Then conductivity of a conductor is very, very high. In the same way, if you consider the insulator, the insulators are having very few number of free electrons. That's why the energy gap is very, very high. So if you apply the external source to move the electrons from valence band to the conduction band, so any amount of external agency you applied, because of that large energy gap, electrons are not mobilized from valence band to the conduction band. That's why mobilities of the electrons is zero. As a result, the conductivity of an insulating material is zero. Then if you consider the third type of material, semiconductor, here we are having two types of charge carriers. In addition to the electrons, holes are present. Usually electrons are present in the conduction band and holes are present in the valence band. So why there is a possibility of two types of charge carriers here? Every semiconducting material is formed as a consequence of covalent bond. As a result, the principle behind the formation of covalent bond is sharing of pairs of electrons between the bonded atoms. Because of such a sharing results two types of charge carriers. As a result, electrons are present in the conduction band and holes are present in the valence band. Then if you want to define the semiconductor, the number of electrons present in the conduction band is exactly equals to the number of holes present in the valence band. And both the regions are separated with achievable amount of, moderate amount of energy gap. That's why mobilities are possible. That's why in the presence of external agency, semiconducting materials exhibit certain amount of conductivity. And if you want to know the exact definition of a semiconductor, the semiconductor is a material in which the number of electrons in the conduction band and number of holes in the valence band are solely created due to thermal excitations. Such a type of material will be called as semiconducting material. Here the number of electrons are exactly equals to number of holes. That's why electrical neutrality will be achieved. As a result, at absolute zero temperature, the semiconducting material behaves as insulator. That's why the semiconductors at absolute zero temperature are not used in any electronic circuits. Then if you consider the types of semiconductors, we are having two types of semiconductors. One is intrinsic semiconductor. This is also called as a pure semiconductor. Second type of semiconductor is extrinsic semiconductor. These are also called as impure semiconductor or doped semiconductor. If we consider the intrinsic semiconductor, it is nothing but a normal semiconductor. Already I mentioned, charge carriers are present in equal number. That's why there is no conductivity in case of intrinsic semiconductor at absolute zero temperature. That's why this type of semiconductor is not used in any electronic circuits. So if you are not improving the conductivity of a semiconducting material, there is no use of a semiconducting material. So to improve the conductivity of a semiconducting material, we have to add impurities. Such a process is called as doping process. As a result of adding such impurities, such a process is known as doping. We will be getting another type of semiconductor called as extrinsic semiconductor. Depends upon types of dopant. We are having two types of semiconductors. One is N-type semiconductor, second one is P-type semiconductor. These are comes under the category of extrinsic semiconductor. If you are adding N-type impurities, pentavalent impurities, then the resultant type of semiconductor is N-type semiconductor. If you are doped with trivalent impurities, then the resultant semiconductor is P-type semiconductor. So chemically pure semiconductors are called as intrinsic semiconductor. Usually germanium and silicon are the examples for intrinsic semiconductor. And already I mentioned a semiconductor which is doped with impurity atoms are called as extrinsic semiconductors. And you know, extrinsic semiconductors may be N-type semiconductor or P-type semiconductor. Depends upon the type of dopants. N-type semiconductor is formed when an intrinsic semiconductor is doped with fifth group elements like phosphorus, arsenic, antimony. So these are also called as pentavalent impurities. As a result, we will get N-type semiconductor. In case of P-type semiconductor, so if you dope intrinsic semiconductor with third group elements like aluminum, boron, gallium, etc. So we will get P-type semiconductor. Such a type of impurities are called as trivalent impurities. And if you consider the N-type semiconductor, in case of N-type semiconductor, because of N-type impurities are added, that is pentavalent impurities are added, 4 electrons are sufficient to form 4 covalent bonds and 1 electron is excess. So such an electron will be present very nearer to the donor levels. Those are present just below the conduction band. Because the 5th electron is the free electron, that's why it is having very high energy. That's why very easily it is reached to the donor levels just present under the conduction band. Here donor levels are very near to the conduction band. Then if you increase the temperature or applying energy or applying any electric field, such a donor electrons which are present in donor energy levels are very easily reached to the conduction band. Already conduction band is having certain number of electrons. These extra donor electrons are reached to the conduction band. As a result, concentration of electrons in the conduction band will be increased. So therefore, here the number of electrons in the conduction band is very high when compared to the number of holes present in the valence band. As a result, we will notice conductivity. Similarly, in case of P-type semiconductor, here we are adding trivalent impurities, but to perform covalent bond here 4 electrons are required. So that's why 1 electron is shortage. That's why the impure atom will take the electron from the home atom. As a result, unsaturated covalent bond will be formed. As a result, if you increase the temperature or apply energy or apply electric field, the unsaturated covalent bond will be broken and the electron becomes free. That will be raised to the specific energy level known as acceptor levels present just above the valence band. But to prevent the stability of the covalent bond, in place of such a missing electron, we will assume that a unit positive charge will be created. Such a unit positive charge will be termed as hole. In this way, for every electron which is reached to the acceptor levels, consequently, hole will be extra developed in the valence band. That's why the number of holes in the valence band will be increased, and this number is very high when compared to the number of electrons present in the conduction band. That's why here holes are the majority charge carriers. The entire conductivity of P-type semiconductor is due to such a majority charge carriers called as holes. So finally, in the N-type semiconductor, the entire conductivity is due to majority charge carriers, which are nothing but electrons present in the conduction band. And in case of P-type semiconductor, the entire conductivity is due to the number of holes, which are the majority charge carriers, they are present in the valence band. And if we consider the basic differences between intrinsic and extrinsic semiconductors with reference to different parameters, first parameter is doping of impurity. Intrinsic semiconductors, you know very well, those are the pure semiconductors. Therefore, doping is not coming into the picture. But in case of N-type semiconductor, but in case of extrinsic semiconductor, we have to add impurities, either N-type or P-type. Depends upon the type of impurities you are getting, either N-type semiconductor or P-type semiconductor. Then second parameter is density of electrons and holes. In case of intrinsic semiconductor, the number of electrons in the conduction band is exactly equals to the number of holes in the valence band. But in case of extrinsic semiconductor, depends upon type of semiconductor. If it is N-type semiconductor, electrons are the majority charge carriers. And if it is P-type semiconductor, holes are the majority charge carriers. And the next parameter is electrical conductivity. And intrinsic semiconductor, electrical conductivity is very low, almost zero. But extrinsic semiconductor, whether it may be N-type semiconductor or P-type semiconductor, compared to the intrinsic semiconductor, their conductivity is high. Then next parameter is dependency of electrical conductivity. So here in case of intrinsic semiconductor, electrical conductivity is a function of temperature. If you are increasing the temperature, resistance will be increased. As a result, conductivity will be decreased. But in case of extrinsic semiconductor, electrical conductivity depends upon temperature as well as the amount of impurity that you are added to the pure semiconductor. If more number of impurities are added, more number of charge carriers are available. As a result, conductivity will be very high. And if you consider the very important parameter Fermi energy level or simply Fermi level, in case of intrinsic semiconductor, Fermi level lies exactly midway between the forbidden energy gap. But in case of extrinsic semiconductor, and if it is N-type semiconductor, Fermi level is nearer to the conduction band. But in case of P-type semiconductor, Fermi level nearer to the valence band. Then associated concept with these semiconductors is Fermi-Dirac distribution function and Fermi level. So what is this Fermi-Dirac distribution? In order to know the probability of occupation of a specific energy level lying above the Fermi energy level, we have to use this Fermi-Dirac probability distribution function. According to which f of E, which is known as a Fermi-Dirac probability distribution function, this is equals to 1 plus exponential of E minus F by kT. Here EF is the Fermi energy level. And how do you define this Fermi energy level? The highest energy level which is occupied with electrons at absolute zero temperature is known as Fermi energy level. And E is a specific energy level which is always lying above the Fermi energy level. That's why the E minus F quantity is always positive. And T is the temperature and K is the Boltzmann constant. At what temperature? You have to know the probability of occupation of a specific energy level E lying above the Fermi energy level EF. To know such an occupation, we have to use this Fermi-Dirac probability distribution function. And if you consider the definition of Fermi energy level in some other terms, Fermi energy is defined as maximum energy that a free electron can have in a conductor at absolute zero temperature. Or Fermi energy is the energy of the state at which the probability of electron occupation is half, that is 0.5 at any temperature above the absolute zero temperature. Thanks for watching.